All right, welcome back for the episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Wednesday, November 8th, 2023. If you're not done so already, please give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading, alerts, analysis, and live day trading. Anyways, let's get into it here today. So markets here basically flat as a pancake for the most part, although again, as you could imagine, breadth is terrible. So Russell 2000 taking a pretty good hit. The Dow is actually down just under a quarter of a percent, and the spiders and NASDAQ are both flat. Spiders up 11 cents, Q's down 5 cents. As I do this video, we got about 20 minutes left in the day, but we did see a little gap up this morning and a pretty decent little fade. I would call this buyer exhaustion. If you cut the short this morning, I gave out the level this morning to everybody. I said if we continue fading, if we break 43.75, your level here is 43.60. That's where it's going to go. And we went down to 43.59. I also gave a secondary level if we got through that. At 43.50, we never got there. So, but 43.60 held. Again, it just looks like buyer exhaustion right now. I will say, though, right now, bonds are getting a pretty good bid. We had a pretty fat tail on the 10-year auction again today. And you can see here, I'm just going to use the ZN. So there's the ZN. That's a 10-year note. Little dip and a pretty good pop there. It is basically flat. The ZB continuing to get a bid. We have a 30-year auction tomorrow as well. Again, we're starting to see foreign demand come back in. That could be telling us that we're getting closer to a slowdown here. The yield curves, though, 210 spread, believe it or not, actually widened quite a bit. So there's the 210 and down to 42 bips. 3-month 10-year getting back close to that 1% level again. So it's interesting to see that. But right now, I do think we'll get a little bit of short covering potentially. In bonds here, there's the ZB. And with that 30-year tomorrow, everybody's short, right? And now we're starting to see demand come back for those longer, the longer bonds. You may see some short covering going into tomorrow's auction. The big resistance level here is around that 117.19 area on the ZB. I'll make it easy for you guys. We'll go on to TLT, and it's at 92. Maybe a little bit shy of there. The TLT is more on the 20-year. So we'll just say like 91.75, 91.50 for the TLT there. But either way, I do think bonds are starting to get a bid. We've talked about this. Nothing goes down or up in a straight line, and yields need to come back. There's the 30-year yield breaking through that pivot, and we're below that 50 moving average now. So ultimately, I think this wants to get down into this pivot high. Will it go there in a straight line? No, not necessarily. Well, I mean, it could, but there's nothing to say that it will. But 30-year coming in, again, 10-year obviously coming in as well. Didn't take out this candle. So again, it's that long end that's starting to come back and snap back in here. So Powell did speak this morning. It was a complete nothing burger. He did not talk about monetary policy. So we don't need to pay attention to that right now. It's just the tails in the bond market. And that'll be big because Friday, the bond market is closed. So expect a light, I would say a light volume session just across the board. And generally want to give the stock market an upside bias when the bond market is closed. So it's kind of like when the cat's away, the mice will play, that type of thing. But for right now, markets did pull back in. Looks like we're not going to get a red day. So 3, 6, 7, 8 days in a row. Take a look at the VIX. We actually day traded this morning, actually, on the VIXy for a quick pop. And I was looking for this type of a move. We got about 13 cents on it before this big hit here. But vol very underbid right now, getting trounced. And it is down 8 days in a row. The record is 11, so we got a couple days left. I think at some point we'll get a red day here. I don't think we're going to break that record, especially with the SPX coming into this level here, which is a good level, and we have not had a pullback going up into it. So we'll see what we get. Pivot high right there, 43.93. Trend line 100 moving average, sell bar. You can take a look at the spiders here. There was a pretty good uptick in volume on that in that selling there, so there should be sellers waiting there. But right now, markets are holding up, and I'm giving them the upside bias to 4,400 on the SPX. Triple Qs, I'm still sticking with 375. So right in that area, right about there, 375, 376. There should be some good, I would even say weekly chart resistance, like, maybe for a week or two. But again, Q's having a big bid. Again, it's the triple, it's the triple Q show again. Microsoft really overbought here. Apple having a really nice bid. Meta was down earlier, cannot stay down. Amazon actually is in the red here. Google up big today. So again, it's triple Q's show. Nothing really has changed there. Right now, the market likes bonds bidding. I think that'll change when the data starts coming in. We don't have any data this week. We have CPI next week. So we'll kind of see, it's going to be a bit of a process, but right now, again, the market likes what it's seeing in bonds, and I'm giving the upside bias to 4,400. IWM is lagging. That is a concern. Again, so down 1% on the day. We did fill the gap, but this is what you did when you filled the gap, right? You've gone nowhere, right? So it's not like we filled the gap and then rallied up sharply, right? We have not done that. So still a lot of weakness in small caps. Don't want to see it lose that 20 moving average. There's a huge gap, another gap all the way down to 165.46. So just be aware of that. That trend line is held up. So far, so good there. Dow here, again, down just 8 basis points, getting a little bit of a float up here towards the end of the day. I would say this is short covering, but I don't know how many shorts there are right now. But in any case, we're stalling out at that 100 period moving average. Again, I can still see maybe one last pop up to 344. But again, Dow stalling out at that area and needs to do backing and filling. Semiconductors up 44 basis points, again, right into this trend line. Again, could it peak above it a little bit? Yes, but I don't see much upside past that. I still think 152, 153 is going to be a good level here, at least for now. IGV, that should still get to 360. So that level looks good. I do like it there. We kind of did this thing with the wedge here, but I'm going to kind of switch this up, and we're going to go like this from now on. So we're going to look at that. We could even go here. Let's go down here. So we're going to go right there for IGV. So not a terrible pattern there. Kind of previously had a wedge. We violated it, and then we're back up. So I like this parallel channel here on IGV. And again, you might get a pullback at that area. We'll look at around 345 and then 340 for cloud software, but that has been a strong sector. Datadog holding those gains for the most part yesterday. We talked about Snowflake, nice little trend line there, a nice pullback there off of that. They report later this month. But anyways, let's get over to the Dow Transports here. Red again on the day. There's nothing really wrong though. This can still just flag and have a zigzag up. So just be aware of that. What I don't like is that I'm always skeptical of bull flags below the 50 moving average. Case in point, right here. So a lot of people were talking about, it's a zigzag up. But the one thing that had me a little nervous, and I even commented on this, I said this guy has that June 2022 feel to it, where it was right here. We had a picture perfect inside bar below the 50 moving average. So that would be the only concern I've got with the transports. So they may have to do one more sell and put in a higher low to get up to that 14.8 area, and then ultimately 15.175 I think is a good area for the transports. But it's holding up for now, and we'll just leave it at that. We already talked about rates. I don't need to cover them again. XHB holding up. This is much better, right? So you're above the 50 moving average. I like that. What I don't like is you have these giant air pockets here. So if this does retrace, we'll look for 74 in the short term, and then around 72, but this is holding up okay, and we'll leave it at that there for the home builders. Again, they like bonds coming in a little bit. Again, double-sided sword with that, though. If the data starts to get really bad, it's not going to be good for home builders. But anyways, in the short run, they don't care. BNQ up 0.5% here. I still don't like this. Below the 50 moving average, it's weak. I would just leave this alone. XLF, fractionally higher. Again, trying to hang on to that 50 MA. If this firms up, you can go to 34.50. I still don't like these gaps that are on pretty much every chart here, but fins are looking a lot better. KRE, what I don't like is KRE here, down 1.3. And again, like the Russell, what did you do when you filled the gap? You haven't done anything. Not like, a gap. When a gap fills bullish, usually you're going to fill it, and then you're going to pop right back up. We're not quite seeing that just yet. I mean, you're still holding the 50 MA. That's your positive. You break below that, this has got to go retest 40. And KBE, if this breaks below, it's got to go retest 36. We haven't looked at KBWB in a minute. This one's holding up a little bit better. Large banks are in better shape. and it's hanging onto that 50 moving average. If this firms up, you know, it can go back to 42. You know, if not, then, you know, you're back to 38 on that. Broker dealers here, a little outside move, but still inside of this green. So no real problems. This can still consolidate and push to 490. Again, you guys know if it gets through that, it's going to 5. Crude is interesting here. So crude is into my level, and full disclosure, I am long, so you guys know. But Aaron, recession's coming. Okay, nothing goes down in a straight line, and we got to respect the charts. And what I see here is a 618 consolidation breakout and a pivot high, and we're right into that. Additionally, if you want to break it down into the smaller time frames, you know, I always start with a 4-hour RSI oversold, hourly bullish divergence. Daily chart was oversold before we started to bounce there. So multi-factor setup there, straight down. I like the level, and you guys know that. I've been telling you about that for probably a couple of weeks now, and we're there. So again, we're not looking for 120. We're not looking for anything crazy, but this is a good bounce level here on crude, if you ask me. Might go a little bit lower. Can't rule out 74. I talked about that in the videos, and additionally, I've talked to you guys about XLE at 82. There is a reason why I say that, right? So this is where we broke out, right? Pivot, 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 couldn't get above it, pivot, then we back checked, and then we went higher. Additionally, there's your 618. So we could see maybe a little bit more downside in crude. Maybe crude holds up and XLE just gaps down into 82. But I do like this level for XLE. I've talked about that. I said leave it alone. But now I think it's into a possible little bounce level. Again, we're not looking for all-time highs. I'm just looking for a bounce here. But decent level there for XLE that we're coming into. XOP, again, could that coincide with the 200 moving average and this local double bottom? It certainly possibly could. So those are the things I like to look for when all those similar sectors and sympathy plays all line up with the same levels. Oh, and the OIH lining up at the lower end of this falling wedge with a 200 moving average just below. Tells me probabilities dictate a bounce here. So we'll see if it does. But OIH down 41 basis points today. Again, could go down to 308 in the short term. Yes. If this 200 breaks, is it going lower? Yes, but that doesn't mean it can't bounce first. So just want to be clear on that. CCJ just backing off a little bit, inside candle to yesterday. Still got to get above 42.17 on a weekly close to confirm a breakout of that previous high. And URNM backing off as well, but I still like this weekly pattern. Looks really strong. Reminds me a lot of this one right here. So kind of an up move and then just kind of curled back up. And you just need to wait on those moving averages to catch up there on the weekly, and then I think it is acting well. All right, let's flip over to nat gas here. So nat gas pulling back, but coming decently off the lows. Where's my nat gas chart? There we go. Got really close to this trend line and the 50 moving average. I think if you get down there tomorrow, that's a pretty good setup for a bounce. 1, 2, 3, 4 days in a row. But nat gas holding up here. I still like the bigger time frame. That's the 2-day. That actually looks okay too. But the weekly here is what I really like. Bullish inside bar above resistance, above the 50 moving average. And after that monthly close above that red bar high. But nat gas doing a lot of backing filling, and certainly is a volatile commodity. Dollar index, I talked about this earlier. So down move here, inside bar. And this could be setting up a bear pattern if you can't get back above that 50 moving average. And again, back above 106.22 as I've already laid out. But, you stay inside of that red. This could set up for a move down. So again, things are lining up here towards some type of a slowdown, right? Dollar weak, bonds bid. It's just a matter of how long the market takes to figure out and how deep of a slowdown we're actually going to go into. If the Fed sees a mild recession, then I'm going to take that as they see transitory inflation. So I'll let you guys figure out how that works out. But 104 is still support for the dollar here in the near term. Gold backing off quite a bit here. So we lost the 20-day. You guys know where I'm looking for it. Right around 1950, 1940. There's your trend line. And that should be the level. 200 moving average, 100 moving average. That should be a good bounce level for gold. If it gets through that, it's to 1900. I like silver a lot more. I believe it or not, I actually have a minor buy signal here on silver here, at least in the short term. But not a terrible pullback pattern. Little doji there. Nothing wrong with that. Still holding that trend line. The trend line to me is honestly minor. I don't really care that much about it. Just kind of like a psychological level there. But silver's hanging in there. We'll leave it at that. Platinum, come on down. Keep coming. That's all I'll say about that. And then palladium, interesting. So nice tail candle here with volume. That may be a low. It may be. We touched the 200-month moving average, 1020 spot 7, and the low here is 1013. That might be something. So we'll watch pattern here for palladium. Could it go a little bit lower? It certainly could, but now it's starting to get really attractive. So I have no problem with accumulation down here. That looks pretty interesting to me. So palladium finally, I was talking about this back here, and I said, you know what, leave it alone. And now we're fine. I would love it. I mean, if we could get sub 1,000 just to test it, that would be even better. But interesting candle there. We'll see if that holds up. Copper here backing off. No surprise, right? Still looking for that to go to 340. You hit the trend line there. Wedge, support becomes resistance. 200, 20-week moving average. And we're backing off of that. That heads lower. It's going right there. Bitcoin here. So Bitcoin continuing to hold up here. No higher high today, but it's acting well. The thing I don't like with it is it's got like this channel here of higher highs and higher lows. Like when you get a consolidation pattern, like up move and an inside bar, you want it to be like upright or slightly lower. So it's just getting like divergently overbought. Again, I think it's going to hold up until the ETF news. And I think the ETF news will be a sell the news in the near term, but you got to give it the upside bias to 38,000, 38 to 40,000. I'll just do that until it proves itself. Otherwise, you start to break down, you take out this little pivot here at 33.4, then we know that, might be in backing and filling mode, but yeah, it's still holding up well. And again, the alts, like I've said, alts have acted a lot better lately. So Bitcoin's still hanging in there okay, and we'll see what that does. Give it the upside bias for now. All right, lastly, markets close in about 3 minutes here. So spiders, again, looks like they're not going to close red unless they might pop it down at the last minute here. Let's see. So some gamma at 43.80 right now. The degens are gambling on that. The gamma boys are gambling on 43.80 right now. Either way, I'm going to give the market the upside bias again till 4,400, as I've said. Then we'll kind of go from there. But right now, big thing tomorrow, market's going to be hyper focused on that bond auction. Another fat tail. It's just very, we're in that right now. We're in that race to see how long it takes the market to start looking at bad news as bad news again. But right now, it's still bad news is good news, and we're still seeing kind of a bid here. Although buyers are getting really exhausted up at these levels, but we'll respect the market here in the near term, especially as long as the volume remains light and we don't have a lot of economic data coming out, and the bond market is going to be closed on Friday, so also keep that in mind as well. Anyways, guys, I'm going to wrap up here. You guys take care. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com. I will talk to you guys all tomorrow.